Roger Goodell said, yeah, college football, take a back seat because we're going to throw a Friday Night Lights at you in São Paulo. So this is important. I want to ask you about this as a former player and what it means. First off, the Packers, 11 hours to São Paulo on a plane. I understand it's charter, so take it easy, people. And then Philly, 9.5 hours. So the travel. Once they get there, the players are locked up in the hotel rooms because of worries about their safety. Let's talk about the line move, and then we'll jump into the game. So I think the wrong team is favored, Geoff. I'll just throw it out there. Green Bay, Philly. So this number opened 1 with the Eagles laying it. I got a chuckle out of Geoff. We'll see what he thinks. It got bet up to 3. Now, a couple days ago, it was down to 2.5, and it was kind of toggling between 2.5 and 3. Of course, 3, the key number when betting the NFL. And then yesterday, late, it got hit down to 2. So that's essentially, Geoff, where we're sitting with Philly on a neutral lane 2 here.
Yeah. Am I allowed to say you don't have to wager on every game? Like, I don't know if I have a strong feel for who should be favored, but I'll tell you this. This game is going to be fun to watch for many reasons, because I think that we have an Eagles team that is very talented, but there's some unique changes they have, right? Jason Kelce's not there anymore, Patrick. Like, that's a big loss at center. He did a lot for this offense. They have a new offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore. So you lose sort of the heartbeat of your team in Jason Kelce, and then you lose your offensive coordinator, who people didn't like there terribly, but you have a new offensive coordinator. There's a lot of pressure on Jalen Hurts this season. So you have those 3 things sort of on offense, right, to figure out. Defensively, you bring in a new DC. You lost some players to retirement, but also now you have injuries already in the secondary. So, like, you've all these sort of things that I need to see happen. And on the Packers side, they're very talented. I think one thing in the NFL that does better than any other sport is it will humble you when you think you've arrived before you have. So I'm curious how the Packers are looking at this season. They played really well at the end of last season. They beat the Cowboys, obviously, in the playoffs. They're a good football team. But they've heard all offseason now, Patrick. They're a good football team. They're a good football team. They're a good football team. How do they play now with the spotlight on the Green Bay Packers to start this season? So that's why I think this is sort of either a live wager situation or an under. Unders in international games tend to hit, right? The field conditions aren't terribly great. You're not playing at home. The Packers have, a 2-hour drive, they said, to get from the hotel to the stadium. For like, just sort of your routine is not really what it normally is for this game. So I think I lean under here a little bit. Why do you like the Packers as favorites?
Well, first off, I'm glad you brought it up for novice bettors. You know, there's a very suggestive nature to having a game on primetime. It feels like you got a fire. And so you bring it up. Do I have to bet on every game? And specifically a standalone like this, dude, chill. You can get involved in game once you get a feel for it. And I'll tell you why I like the Packers. And I think there's an elephant in the room here, and that is Sirianni and Hurts. Now, a whole new coaching staff, as you perfectly laid out. But how about what the Eagles did down the stretch last year, Geoff? 11-6. So they finished 11-6. On paper, that looks good. But they were 1-6 over their final 7. They were 0-7 ATS. Their defense was dreadful. Hurts wasn't his old self. And we were playing, Geoff, clips of Hurts over those final 7 weeks, and he just seemed depressed. It's almost like he's the adult and Sirianni's the child. And I think that relationship is going to be a theme moving forward, outside of what you said, missing one of the great centers and great offensive linemen of all time in Kelce.
Yeah, look, I'm sure you saw the article that was written, 3 weeks in a training camp about Nick Sirianni, sort of taking blame, which I like to hear because a lot of coaches, they point the finger at you and don't realize that the 3 are pointing back at them, right? So they do not take, they take the credit. They don't take the blame very well sometimes. But he got up in front of the team and said, "Guys, it's my fault," which look, you should do if you're a coach. They don't start fast though. That it's my fault thing is not going to go very well, right? Like, now you have to start fast this season. So to your point, there's a lot of pressure on Philly because I think we all feel this, right? If this doesn't go well, Sirianni's out of there. He's not going to keep his job. So now you open up week 1 in a foreign country in a situation, as you mentioned, where you can't even leave the hotel, like can't even enjoy the country you're in, which I could argue you shouldn't play the game there if you can't even just leave your hotel, but that's, I think, for another channel, for another day. So I'm with you with the idea that there's a lot of pressure right on Philly, way more in Philly than the Green Bay Packers.
Well, I do, and you asked me why I like the Packers. First off, was there a hotter? We just talked about there's a juxtaposition. Over the final 7 weeks, the Eagles Geoff, were horrific. I don't know if there was a hotter team in football and then into the postseason than the Packers. And Jordan Love, I think we'll get into this later. I mean, he's going to be a star. And LaFleur is a great play caller. Specifically with LaFleur, look what he's done. As a dog, he's 20-7 ATS. He was 8-4 ATS last year. And then as a dog, LaFleur is 16-11 outright. Like, he wins these games. Specifically, the first 3 weeks of the season, he's 13-2 ATS, 87% hit. So that's number one. Before we just gloss over the Brazil factor, you can speak on this better than anybody on the network. Like, what does it mean to the players? Is there some sort of encumbrance to the players traveling all that way, getting locked up in their hotel rooms? Like, would you say from a player's perspective, there's something we should look for here?
That's why I think the under, like a little, like we're creatures of routine, right? Like our schedule, if you look at a player's schedule, from 7 a.m. until you leave the building or on the road, from the entire time is mapped out by the minute, by the second. If you ever in a locker room before a game, you see the board, right? That's like list all the times everyone's out. Like we're so regimented that when you're off your regiment in a foreign country, sometimes things are a little slow, right? Things start a little bit slower. Plus, again, the field conditions in a lot of these games, I think this is turf tonight anyways, but they tend to be pretty bad in these international games as well. Like, so there's the turf is not terribly good. You're a little thrown off your schedule. You're playing in a foreign country with your fans. It's a neutral site game, so there's no real fans, I guess, cheering you on either side. So I lean under in this if I'm going to make a wager. I don't. Again, I have some props on this game. That's about it. I don't have a slider total. But to me, this is like a fill-out game for me for both these teams. I want to see what these teams are tonight.
Well, I'm 100% with you. First of all, I'll sell the lead right now. I'm on the under. This is an elevated total. And for novice bettors, what you have to understand, when you have a standalone game like this, most of the money from recreational bettors is going to be on the over. So you're going to have that over pushed up. We got 49.5 in the market right now. The last 15 between Philly and Green Bay, Geoff, it means something, 11-4 to the under. And then just generally, you're going to have defenses ahead of the offenses. Look at week 1 last year in the NFL, 12-4 to the under. So if you want to blanket the unders this weekend, I'm good with it. I do like the under tonight.
I think I do as well. There's other unders I like more than this. I also think, and we'll talk about props for tonight in a little bit. I like some rushing attempt props. Like, I think we're going to have a lot of rushing attempts from Philly tonight, especially to sort of reestablish their offensive line. You run the ball a little bit, less possessions, more time chewed up, and that sort of leads to an under wager for me as well.
Well, you brought up a rushing attempt prop. I will be talking about Barkley. Again, no Kelsey, but this offensive line for Philly led the league in run block win rate last year. Barkley set at 64.5 tonight. He averaged 70.4 with that dreadful Giants offensive line last year. I think they're going to feed him to kind of get him acclimated.
Well, I like the 15.5 rush attempts over for Barkley tonight. We'll just get into it. To your point, when you have a new toy like that, I think you ride him in game one, right? Like, I think we're going to see tonight reestablish that offensive line, as you mentioned, with some new starters in there, and just you take the pressure off Hurts, right? Just run the football, use Barkley as much as you can, get back to sort of giving Hurts some easy throws early in the game, and I think that the way to go here is take the over for me. So you're over yards, and I'm over.
Yeah, I'm over yards, 64.5. You might be able to still find it. I bet it early. We'll update you on the prop number on Barkley with his rush yards. Geoff likes the attempts over, totally agree. And we're both on the under. You can find 49.5s in the market. Don't bet the 49, get the 49.5.
Thanks for watching, but don't let the betting insights end here. If you want an extra edge this football season, you can get a month of VSiN Pro right now, absolutely free. That means access to our betting insights, analysis, and tools like our betting splits at zero cost to you. Click the link in the description to sign up.